to Season 2, Episode 2 of Meet the Toberts. Our podcast is about thriving in and out of medicine, no matter where you are in your training or career. And together we come to you with a combined experience of over 80 years in medicine. I'm Sue Tobert, a pediatric cardiologist by training, a certified physician development coach in my spare time, and a recent retiree.
And I'm Daren Tobert, a sleep medicine physician, just retired about a week and a half ago as we record this. And I formerly practiced pulmonary and critical care. I enjoy personal finance and recently completed a master's degree in blockchain and digital currency.
So we're a Gen X couple. We grew up in Canada in the 70s and 80s. We enjoyed and survived busy medical practices. And here we are, we've retired early. And our goal is to share some insights and wisdom we've gained through our career experiences, raising a busy family, trying to maintain sanity and wellness during the process. And this season, we're focusing on topics that will help you better create your ideal life. Today, we are excited to come to you from aboard the beautiful Regent Seven Seas Explorer cruise ship as we cruise the coast of Alaska. We have been on board for 6 days, enjoying every minute. The weather has been a bit cool and rainy at times, and one day of fairly rough weather, but thankfully it wasn't anything we couldn't handle without a little bit of meclizine. I always say better living through chemistry. And this is kind of our retirement bucket list trip. So this is actually really perfect timing for today's topic.
Yeah, which is travel hacking. We're going to talk about that. It's a favorite hobby of ours. We've been into it for several years now. And so it's called hacking, but it's not anything illegal. It's simply the idea that you can utilize the loyalty programs of different companies, such as banks or credit card companies, airlines, hotels, transportation companies, to really just get the maximum out of those loyalty programs that they offer. So it's nothing illegal. It's completely about legal usage of their benefits that they offer. So we think that physicians find this topic interesting for a few reasons. Firstly, we tend to be detail-oriented, and some of travel hacking involves kind of understanding detailed rules about these programs and how they work and so on. We, the physicians, tend to highly value our time off, which includes travel. Most of us are interested in travel, and it's been a goal for at least 70 or 80% of physicians when they retire. And we enjoy the possibility of spending our money wisely and of eking out every last bit of value from the dollars that we do have to spend in travel. So everything that we say today is for educational purposes only. It does not constitute any kind of financial advice, and nor do we receive any benefit from the details we're sharing. If I mention a specific program, we have no affiliations or sponsorships in any way. So please, this is just a teaser for you to explore this topic further on your own.
And we're going to touch base on just kind of some of the basics of travel hacking, like where to even start learning about it, who it's right for. It kind of depends on what financial stage you might be in your career. We'll talk a little bit about some of the kind of top areas to focus on, and maybe who should not travel hack. Like you do, as Daren said, need to be detail oriented and track rewards closely to obtain the most benefits. So just exploring this hobby from like a 30,000 foot view.
Right. So just to launch into that, what does it take to be a successful travel hacker to get some good benefit of these? So I have really 5 tips to share, or we have 5 tips to share about this. So the first one from me, the finance guy, would be that you've got to be proceeding from a base of financial stability and financial responsibility. Young physicians might have a negative net worth, but you should be at least at the point of not overdrawing a checkbook, right, or a checking account. You can't be in a situation where you're relying on payday loans to get by, or, paying off the MasterCard bill with the Visa. That's not a good plan. Or you can't be calling home to mom and dad for support. So you should at least have a basic budgeting system and a plan where your income is greater than your expenses.
Point number 2. You've heard us say this before, have an emergency fund of maybe at least 3 months of expenses. So you don't want to use credit card to cover unexpected expenses. That gets back to that being financially responsible. Pay off your credit card every month. Otherwise, if you're going to travel hack, you're not even going to be receiving full benefits of the cards you hold for the rewards benefits because you're spending your money trying to get ahead on your debt. So hold an emergency fund.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think for most people, you're talking. These programs offer benefits of around 1 to 3%. We can sometimes get benefits up to 5 or 6%. But if you're paying 24% interest because you can't pay off your card every month, you'll wipe out the benefits and you'll be losing money. So you must, as we talk about credit cards and utilizing them, you must pay them off in full every month. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Point number 3 of our recommendations is be financially tech savvy. So most young docs, I mean, they're just fine here. Tech is what we do all day long in our day jobs. So you're going to want to be able to log in to your credit card accounts, download your statements, set up auto pay. You may even want to kind of be tracking things on a spreadsheet, for instance, so have some basic spreadsheet knowledge on just how to be able to make the most out of these savings.
Yeah. And, for more advanced levels, that you can certainly start this at any level, but at more advanced levels, you've got to be somewhat detail oriented.
That's point number 4.
That's point number 4. As time goes on, you might have multiple credit cards and loyalty programs with their own rules, websites, logins, passwords. I think that a password manager, so that you can create long, secure passwords and store them safely, and browser organization, so you can keep track of these programs and where your points and miles are located and so on. These are key organizational skills to have if you're going to do some travel hacking.
Which is why some of our neighbors call you the spreadsheet dude, right? Because you love spreadsheets. But if you are less detail oriented like me, and you know this about me already, right? I'm the free spirit, you're the nerd. It's really easy to learn more about this topic and the areas to focus on by watching the White Coat Investor Travel Hacking Starter Kit. So when you encouraged
that's a mistake. Hang on, we gotta redo that.
Oh,
it's not the White Coat Investor.
It's not?
No, it's the points guy.
Oh, the points guy.
So
sorry.
Cut there, Cam, and we'll redo that.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm going to start with that paragraph.
Yeah. So when Daren finished talking, let me dive in now. So this is why our neighbors call you the spreadsheet dude, right? Is because you are really that detail-oriented person. If you are less detail-oriented like me, so travel hacking does not come naturally to me, but an easy way to learn more about this topic, and you're committing to 10 short videos from the Points Guy. The Points Guy has a travel hacking starter kit. We're going to reference this in the show notes, but again, just helping you be detail oriented. And point number 5 we want to make, be a travel lover. So the whole goal here is to get out and experience the world, travel, potentially far more luxurious than you thought possible. Don't bother doing this if you're a homebody, and don't just accumulate points and miles to watch your stash grow, because programs tend to devalue their points pretty regularly over time. So use it or lose it, and be ready to have some fun traveling.
Yeah. So that's absolutely right. We got to use our points. That's why we're doing this. So, yeah. So what are points and miles? Travel companies benefit a lot from your loyalty because you spend a lot of money with them. And so once they've acquired a customer, they want to keep you. And so to keep you coming back, they offer rewards, typically in proportion to the amount that you spend with them. And these rewards are typically called either points or miles, or some companies have their own pretty unique names for them. You should think of them like types of currencies, somewhat like government currencies, like the dollar, the euro, or the yen. Just like those types of currencies, points and miles can have variable value depending on how and where they're used. For instance, the US dollar would have pretty good value around the world and even over in Africa. But if you come back from Africa with a wallet full of Nigerian naira they're not going to have a ton of value inside the United States, right? You would not probably accept Nigerian naira from your buddy as payment for a car, for instance, right? So these currencies have differential values depending on how and where they're used. So similarly, in the travel world, Delta miles have a good value with Delta Airlines, but some partners like Air France or KLM will let you use your Delta miles on their sites to book their flights. But on the other hand, Delta miles are worth zero on American Airlines, who's a competitor of Delta. So that's something to understand. Just think of them like interchangeable currencies to some degree.
So a question pops to mind. Where do you find out these details? Like, how did you make the connection that Delta, KLM, Air France are all kind of in bed together?
Yeah, so this is blog space. You've got to get hooked up, I'd say, first with the points guy and do their introductory session of emails. You get an email a day for 10 days. And they kind of walk you through the basics, and then you just dive in and get started. We'll talk about how to get started a little bit. So, just like some currencies are more flexible than others, so the dollar is more flexible than the naira. Same is true with points and miles. So some of the most useful and widely accepted or widely interchangeable currencies would be things like American Express member rewards points, Chase Ultimate Rewards, Capital One miles, Citibank thank you points. These are what we call transferable currencies, meaning that you can transfer them from the bank loyalty program to usually one of several airlines. Some of these have 16 or 17 airline partners that you can transfer to. And a lot of the best payoffs from using the points come from transferring them to pick up a great redemption, say on a luxury flight.
Right. So let's just pause there for a second. Here's a little kind of approach that we've done over the years is if you have a credit card that kind of rotates rewards, be aware of that. Like you have to read that in the details of the credit card emails or the points guy emails. And let's say maybe you're going to get more points for groceries for the next 3 months or additional rewards for using the card for gas, etc. Like we really track that with our credit cards, and we've developed this little system that, for instance, what's the one right now? Capital One, is that right?
Yeah, we're using Capital One right now for
What's the benefit on groceries?
Well, for groceries right now, we're using the Amex for groceries.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so here's the thing. This is an example of the nerd and the free spirit, right? So we kind of connect on this during our budget committee meetings, which I only have 20 minutes of brain space for. But Daren will say, okay, this month or the next 3 months, we're going to use the Amex Platinum or Amex Gold for groceries. I actually put a little sticker on my Amex Gold, so I know, okay, here's my grocery reminder, here's my gas reminder. So just be encouraged that even though it sounds detail-oriented, think of all the details that you do practicing medicine daily. You got the ability to track this pretty easily. So
sure. Yeah, and a little change, like you mentioned, using one credit card over another can sometimes change the rewards that you get by 4 to 5-fold, right?
Yeah,
you get 5-fold more if you use a certain credit card versus another. So these types of details are important if you want to get really good value from travel hacking.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So, okay, you might say, great, lots of talk about this. Like, share some examples, Sue and Daren, of what travel hacking success you've had. One that really stands out to me, and this was many years ago, what we've used, we've flown to France several times. We have friends over there, and we've taken our 3 girls with us when they were younger. And one trip in particular, but we've had really good deals several times, cost us $55 to fly 5 of us in economy over and back to France. So that was because we'd saved our points, and we're going to talk about, how do you accumulate points? We'll talk more about that. But I mean, $55 to get a family of 5 over to France, and then we stayed with folks. So that was a cheap trip in the end. Any other examples that come to mind?
Yeah, so we recently just booked business class seats over to Europe for 4 people using American Express points, and we got a value for those points of about 6.7 cents per point. A kind of a standard value if you just redeem those on American Express's website for, say, something like a statement credit, you'd get at most 1 cent per point. But we were able to transfer these points to an airline and book award travel, resulting in a value of about 6.7 cents per point. And so it ends up being quite a huge multiple.
So walk me through those steps again, because you were paying attention to the notices that were coming out and the timing of it all, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did that flow?
Well, to book a great award like that, you've got to look at the right time. So we are flying to Copenhagen next August. And so about 11 months out, starting in September, I started to look for flights because the airlines typically post their flights about 11 months out, and they'll post their initial award availability then as well. So we found that they had availability of 4 business class award tickets. Mm-hmm. And then we just had to figure out, okay, how many points is that? And how do we get points into that particular loyalty program so that we can book that flight? And again, this requires some detail and knowledge of how to do it, but it's very doable. And we were able to do it on a Sunday afternoon over a glass of wine with our friends.
Right.
Yeah.
So dollar amount savings, 6.7 cents per point. What do you think we saved on flight expense?
Well, we used 480,000 American Express points, as well as $1,000 in fees and taxes. Those are always paid in cash. You can't pay those in points, but that's $250 each in fees and taxes for the 4 people. And so those flights, if you just were to walk onto the website and pay cash, that would have been about $40,000 worth of air tickets. And so we paid $1,000 plus 480,000 Amex points. So, and when you calculate that all back, it works out to about 7 cents per point. So if you can get over 2 cents a point of value for your points, you're doing very well. So a 6.7% was just a great redemption.
Yeah. And so here's another example. We have friends who do the same thing, right? And we booked the 4 of us flying over there. We have our stay together, and they'll be booking the flight back and using their points and getting similar usage and redemption. So you just got to think creatively. And I think that's part of the fun of it. The pre-trip anticipation is a huge part of it. It brings us a lot of joy that way. Here's another example that comes to mind is we routinely leverage hotel programs and their branded credit cards to get multiple free nights and stays and upgrades throughout the year. And these are probably some of the more familiar redemptions people know about. I just want to point out, the one disadvantage of having adult children who know about your travel hacking hobby is that they begin to come to you asking you to book their travel. So I remember one of our daughters taking a trip to Zion National Park, and there's this great place, and she already knew, right? It's a Marriott, and do you have your free night yet for whatever this next 3 months? And I mean, she has it down to a science on how to.
Yeah. And she's working on her own travel hacking and booking with her own points. But we have gifted free nights to our kids, and we've used multiple free nights in hotels as well. And, these free night redemptions can be pretty awesome, like some of the very upper end hotels, Ritz and that kind of thing.
We did it in Fairbanks last week. There you go.
Used hotels in Fairbanks. So, yeah.
So that is just kind of the beginning taste of travel hacking. We're going to come back and touch on this topic in future episodes. But there's another aspect of travel hacking that I think is kind of near and dear to my heart, which is about how to travel well, like how to max out your relaxation and unwinding. And we believe there's a psychology to trip planning beyond just even that pre-anticipation travel excitement. So one of the topics that we like talking about is like, why do we want to travel, where, when kind of thing?
Yeah. So having a specific goal for a trip, and it doesn't have to be like super specific, but just something like this trip is to relax. And our only goal is to lay on a beach and read and just get away from it all and relax. Or you might have a goal of, I've really wanted to explore this area of the planet. And so we're going to experience as much as we can, or maybe make sure that we see all aspects of an interesting geography that we wanted to see. Or you might want to travel for learning. Maybe you're a history buff and you want to go to Europe and spend time in museums and so on. And so have in mind a reason for the trip beyond just like filling in vacation time. Right.
That kind of jogs my memory about just some of the ways that we like to spend our evenings is researching travel. Tons of YouTube videos out there. We like Rick Steves videos. We'll put these in the show notes. Wendy Perrin is an online resource for travel planning.
Mm-hmm.
Road Scholar, right? Just tons of learning there. National Geographic. The Regent cruise line that we're on right now has had some really interesting daytime lectures that we've been able to attend to learn about the Alaska geography and all of that. So
so physicians tend to be lifetime learners
absolutely.
and typically interested in knowing more and learning more about the world. So
let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
So we say give a reason for the trip beyond just filling it in as vacation time. What's the reason for this trip?
Oh, this is just purely to celebrate the retirement.
Yes, totally. Just celebrating retirement.
So, yeah.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
It's been a great trip for that purpose. Plus, we worked in a fair amount of learning about Alaska. I feel like I know the climate and the people much better after having been there. So, yeah.
So for most physicians, right, vacation time during your busy career, when you're not retired, when you're working, can amount to somewhere between like 7 to 10 days off on average away from work. And although it's like a 72-hour break, long weekend, 4-day weekend can still boost your well-being, just be aware of the fact that there are data out there that suggest it can take 8 to 10 days to unwind from the stress of work before you really start to relax. And we believe we've noticed some of this, even in how our sleep can be slow to improve on vacation. Mm-hmm. And just as we're getting finished the vacation, we start sleeping better. And then boom, you're back at work, right? Mm-hmm. So just know that this is kind of a common phenomenon, this coming back to work at the end of the trip. The anxiety might even start to mount a couple days before you get back. I'm thinking of how my brain would work. Okay, zillions of emails, tons of inbox messages. Everybody's going to want a piece of me. And so this return to work anxiety is real. It's hard to be gone for a week. We'll just admit it. It's a phenomenon of the job. So some ways to kind of ease that reentry tension. What comes to mind?
Ease reentry tension?
Yeah.
Well, be away for longer. That helps.
Sure, if you can, right?
Right.
There's one thing that we do a lot, which is to take an extra day before you actually have to go back
we always
to work,
arrive
right?
back. If we have to go back to work Monday, we always try to arrive back on Saturday. Just having that last day free to, clean up the laundry, unpack the suitcases, just
get through the mail,
just reset and get ready. That does help, definitely. Yeah.
There's another technique that we use when we're away, because sometimes you have a number of things to manage while you're gone still, like around the house. We have a cat, for instance. So we have a dear friend who has watched the house for us, comes in and feeds the cat, gets the mail, opens the mail for us in case there's something there that needs to be unpacked and put away or whatever. And so utilizing your community resources to help you out, including friends and family, to really feel like home base is well covered is really important. There's times that we've given the cat to the kids, right? So pets are always a big concern. What do? Do you want to put your dog in a kennel for a week? Most of us, it's not ideal. And so tap into your resources that way to make reentry easier. We have had neighbors pick up a small supply of groceries for us if we're getting back at last minute and have to enter into work the next day. Grab us some milk and some bananas, kind of thing. So think outside the box when you're trying to make that re-entry a little bit easier.
Yeah. So just some wrap up thoughts then on travel hacking. This has been a fun episode, really.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed talking about it. So I want to emphasize this is kind of fun. It's definitely not medicine. It's low stress and it's enjoyable. It is a profitable activity for those finance people out there. I'll just tell you, this year we've been tracking our actual experience with different card programs and so on a spreadsheet. And I've been basically taking the annual fees and so on that we pay for the cards and subtracting out the benefits that we receive, or adding in the benefits that we receive, and tracking it very carefully. And with some excellent flight redemptions and a couple of bonuses from new credit card signups and so on, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars of really, at this point, tax-free benefit to you in terms of travel money to use in different ways. So it can be very profitable. It is somewhat detail oriented, and you have to really pay attention to things to get the max benefit. But we're excited about this topic. So we barely scratched the surface. Our two upcoming episodes will feature our colleague and great friend, Dr. Alex Villarreal, who will walk us through the basics of how to earn points and miles. That'll be one episode. We'll talk about all the different ways of accumulating points and miles, and then an episode on how best to redeem them redeem your points and miles for excellent travel experiences. So it's a really deep rabbit hole, and we're just going to scratch the surface here. There are lots of podcasts out there that have hundreds of episodes in terms of the details, but we look forward to having Alex on to give us the basics and maybe help you folks get dip your toe in the well of getting started with travel hacking.
Well, and I think you might be surprised as you start talking with colleagues and that sort of thing, just how many people you know are actually doing this to some degree. And what I love about it is just the sharing of ideas. Like, it's a really cool space on how to, what did you do, and this is how I did it, and now everybody's benefiting from the sharing of the knowledge. So definitely a fun hobby and something that we get a lot of fun and pleasure out of doing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you back in next podcast to dive a little deeper into travel hacking. And in the meantime, relax when you can.
Yeah. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Take care.